All right, so good morning. I am joined this morning for a little coffee chat with Sam Dubrinsky. She is the new Chief Executive Officer for the Springfield JCC. So good morning and welcome, and so nice to meet you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, and it's so nice to meet you as well.
As I mentioned before in kind of like the pregame, I was not expecting a Southern accent, but you are from Alabama, so welcome to Massachusetts.
Thank you. Yes, born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, and the weather has been quite a transition. But the snow was really cool the first few times. So,
So you've only been here for 3, 4, 5 months?
yeah, we moved mid-January, and then I've been in this role since the beginning of February.
Well, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a great segue to my first question, because there are probably folks that are watching this morning that are not familiar with the Springfield JCC. So tell me a little bit about what you folks do there.
Yeah, so the Springfield JCC focuses on making our community better through focusing on programs, initiatives, services that enhance all of our well-being physically, mentally, community-wise. And we have a preschool on one end of the building and a pool on the other, and so much in between. We do a lot of what we do through a Jewish lens, but a lot of the Jewish values that we like to make sure really are permeating the organization, or a lot of the values that we all share. So we're open to everyone and would love to have anyone who's not familiar with the JCC come and check us out.
So we did do a video over the summer, and I had the opportunity to tour. It's an amazing facility.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that Jewish lens, because not sure people really understand what that means.
Yeah, I think there is a misconception with JCCs around the country. We certainly heard this in Birmingham, and I hear it here as well, that people feel like, oh, I have to be Jewish to come to the JCC. And in fact, the opposite, it could not be more true. So we, have values such as equity and inclusion, and making sure that we're strong physically and mentally, and treating everyone with respect and kindness. And those are the values that really guide all of our decisions and how we move forward. And so as you see, those values are so many that all of us share and work to make a part of our organization. So we say Jewish values, but they're really everyone's values, and we just express them Jewishly.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I love the fact that is kind of like the foundation, because it's what we all strive for. So congratulations to you guys for having that. Now, you recently became CEO after a national search. What do you think the search committee how do you think they would characterize your leadership and management style?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the search committee was really looking for someone who is going to lead them into the next generation, really shake things up a little bit. I think they were looking for a leader who is inclusive and is really communicative. And that is something that is a hallmark of my leadership, is really bringing in stakeholders from the beginning, getting their buy-in, helping them be part of the process and creating our future. And I think that is something that was really important to the search committee, and something that is really important to our community members as well, our community members within the JCC. So it's been nice to start moving things forward. And starting during a pandemic is a really interesting time to start a new role. But I think that there's so much opportunity in that, because we are trying to come out of this pandemic as so many other organizations, stronger and more nimble, more versatile. And I get to have a hand in shepherding that forward. And there's something really, really powerful about that.
So speaking of the pandemic, so you joined as CEO during a pandemic. You have lived, I think, most of your life in Alabama. So you started in a pandemic, you moved your entire family to Massachusetts. You have a little one that had to move and get acclimated. That's a big transition. What was all of that like?
Yeah, it has been a big transition. I think what was something that we didn't expect, we heard winter is challenging, but we've seen snow in Alabama a handful of times, and I did not understand the magnitude of what winter means. And I know that sounds a little silly, but when you think about winter and staying inside, and then you add a pandemic on top of it, it was really challenging kind of getting acclimated and working at the JCC, where what we do is community, which is being together. And yes, we can be together on Zoom, but there really is no replacement for that in-person connection. So as the weather has started to warm up and we've been getting outside more, I'm having meetings face to face with people, and that's been so nice. And yeah, that certainly was a challenge that I underestimated.
And how has the JCC kind of moved forward during this pandemic, and where do you see it going?
Right. So the JCC has been significantly impacted by the pandemic. I mean, we are a direct in-service, in-person service organization. So we've had to pivot quite a bit. A lot of what we're doing is outdoors and online, a lot of our fitness and wellness opportunities. But what we've realized during the pandemic is that childcare, which is one of the biggest barriers to getting us all back to where we want to be, is something that the JCC does well and our community really needs. So we had our preschool open during the summer, last summer, and our educators were one of the first people to have to talk to children about what it means to social distance, about why we have to hand sanitize, why we're all wearing masks. Such a challenging time, but we've come out of it so much stronger. So really pivoting and understanding, how do we as a staff meet the new needs of the community while still providing them the quality program and services that they've come to expect from us. So it's really allowed me to understand the strengths of the JCC a little bit more. And I think that's what I've learned and is most important in coming out of this crisis. Is this crisis has allowed us to take risks in ways that we otherwise would not have been able to, or would have pushed ourselves to do. And that risks involves providing really important services for our community in a way that we hadn't in the past.
So Michael Pasnick was the previous executive director, been there, I think, 32 years, something like that. And he was instrumental in bringing the JCC to where it is now. What do you think your mark, or what mark do you want to make on the JCC to move it forward?
I think about that a lot, because Michael has established such a strong foundation, such a healthy organization. I really want to be able to move our JCC into what's next, into the future, to become even more relevant than we have in the past, to really be the center of the community and not just a community center. And I think we have some work to do around that, but the need and the desire from our community is there, which is the most inspiring part of it all. And not every community has that. I think that's something that's really special about Springfield.
Typically, when I have coffee like this, I ask folks, what advice would you give to the next generation of leaders? But you are the next generation of leaders. So what advice would you give to your board, to community partners, from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think the pandemic has taught us a lot in general about leadership, and it's easy as leaders, whether it's from the lay side on the board or even organizationally, to get caught up in the minutia and the really tough decisions. But I think we have to shift our mindset as leaders understand what an opportunity this is for us to really redefine ourselves. And while there has been so much tragedy and trauma associated with what our entire country has been through, this is our moment, and let's embrace it and really shift the way that we've thought about things, which is a challenge. It's harder than it sounds. It sounds so great just saying it, but really shifting the way that we've thought of ourselves as we relate to the Springfield community, and thinking about how we can best serve it, and really being able to take this crisis, having documented it, and prepare for the future, and understanding the lessons that we learned through it. That was a very long answer for a simple question. So please feel free to chop that one up.
Not at all. So I'm going to pivot a little bit here. So you have 3 rescue dogs.
Yes.
And what got you involved in that?
Yeah, so I have a real heart for animals, and I think something that Massachusetts does really, really well. I mean, there are so many things, but is really controlling the pet population by enforcing spay and neuter regulations, and that's not something that Alabama does. And so I stumbled upon these animals, and like my heart just could not say no. My husband said no, but my heart did not. We started out fostering our 3rd one, and then he ended up just staying. And now I have a 2-year-old son, and it's so fun to see how they interact with each other. So definitely a little bit of a wild time in our house.
And do you see a place for animals at the JCC?
I do. I think that there is a real place for animals. We have a great special needs support program. We call it Kahila, which means community. And so much of what animals can do is provide that comfort and service to people with different challenges, whether it's behavioral challenges. And we know that as we head into summer with camp, we're going to be welcoming back kids who have not been in a camp setting, a school setting in person. They've been in front of their screens for the past year, and the behavioral challenges that come with that can often be soothed by animals. So I certainly think that there is a place for animals and rescues for sure at the JCC. What I love about this community is how much they love rescues, and I just think that's amazing.
I'm curious, over your career, have you had a mentor or someone you relied on to give you kind of sage advice and help you work through challenges to kind of position you for today?
Yes, I have so many, and I am so lucky to have learned from some really great professionals who I still, talk with on a weekly basis. And I think what they taught me is that we all need someone that we can talk to, no matter where we are in our career, whether we're just starting out or whether we're a seasoned leader. We all need someone to bounce ideas off of, and you don't have to know it all. And in fact, you shouldn't and can't know it all. And those conversations and understanding and hearing my mentor say, look, you're not just learning from me, I'm learning from you. Like, that's a really beautiful thought that I think a lot of mentor-mentee relationships miss, because it's so focused on the seasoned leader teaching a younger leader, and that is the majority of it. But we can all learn from one another, and we can't stop having those conversations. And there's no end point that we can reach to say, okay, we're done growing, we're done learning. No, it's a journey. And that's really powerful when you think about it as a journey.
Have you had an aha moment since you've been here?
Oh yes, I've had so many, so many, and some of them have been small aha moments that have led to some bigger ones. I think the most meaningful aha moment was realizing that the biggest question we have to answer as an organization right now is why are we doing what we're doing? We have the how and the what, and we may want to make changes to those, but the why is what's going to keep us going every day. It's going to keep us uh you know impassioned and ready to keep working during those challenging times, and our community needs to know our why. So that's been a big aha for me. It sounds so simple, but that why is at the heart of everything.
You're absolutely right. And I think there's a lot of organizations that, especially as a result of this pandemic, are all trying to figure out that why, because there has been such a shift.
There has, and I think it's easy to look at our revenue or our P&Ls and say, oh my gosh, we've really struggled and we're the only ones who are going through this right now. And we have to remember that it's not just our specific organizations or the Springfield community. This is a challenge that so many of us are facing right now. And there's so much to learn from others who are asking the same questions, to your point.
Is there something you miss about home?
Yes, I miss the food. I
I
miss
wondered about that.
Southern food. And I miss my family, but there's the reason that I loved Springfield is all the good that I loved in Birmingham is here plus some. And the warmth and the what I have called in the past Southern hospitality, but I guess is New Englander hospitality, was really, really amazing. And that's something that I didn't expect. Southerners have this grumpy view of New Englanders, and I just have not found that to be true in the slightest. So,
well, I'm glad that we have made your transition comfortable.
it has been really wonderful, and the community organizations that I've had a chance to connect with, the willingness to talk and collaborate is something I haven't seen in a few other areas, and we have a lot to be proud of in that way.
Well, I appreciate it. And thank you so much for joining me this morning, and welcome to the Springfield area. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
We'll see you soon.